it's not a problem. No. Cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah. And nothing can stop me. No. Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way. I follow. No need to say. Where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes. Yeah, lead the way. I follow. No need to say. No, where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Ooh.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I know I've taken a little hiatus, but I had a lot going on. Good stuff, good business, and that's no excuse. I need to be more consistent, and I am being more consistent. We have a great calendar of events coming up, podcasts, different subjects about investment, real estate, even starting a social fit club here in Charlotte. So yeah, a lot's been going on, but I'm so happy to be back with you all for another podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how to power up or how to increase your purchase power. I think it in my mind is like you're powering up like a superhero or something like that, which you kind of are financially. And so let me bring on my guest for the evening, and he'll be able to let me unmic him. All right, Mr. Good, how are we doing today?
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. This is the first time that I've had Mr. Stewart Good onto our channel, so let's all welcome him with a lot of great questions and our full attention because him and I were discussing. We closed the deal together with a great client, and the deal was very smooth on the lending side. And so since then, him and I have been developing our professional relationship, and He, along with Brian Kovaleski, who I've had on the channel, and Sid Chase, who's going to be back on the channel. These are just a great circle of professionals and experts in their field. So, Mr. Good, will you just tell them who you're with and how long you've been in the industry and what it is exactly that you do?
Yeah, so I'm Stewart Good. I'm with Alcova Mortgage. I've been in the industry since 2020, and I am a mortgage expert. So, um, senior loan officer here at Alcova Mortgage, and I am the person in the process that helps you get the financing done, get yourself pre-approved, and get you to the closing table to close on your home.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing it since 2020.
Very good, very good. So you've been able to see it through that COVID period, and now we're on the other side of that, and you can really give them great insight as to the dynamics in the market and how that's changed and whatnot. Yeah,
Absolutely. The market has been a lot different from when I got into this point now.
right.
Um, it's had its ups and downs, but we're still here. We're in it.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir.
So for those who are joining us live, I posted the link if you would like to come on and ask a question. For those who've been following me, know that I love to have people come on. You don't have to necessarily have your video on, just your audio, which is fine. Uh, and that link, let me double check. We should be good to go on. Yep, YouTube looks good. Let me see if I see that on Facebook because we're going live across two Facebook pages, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously. And for those who are joining us, I will be adding back Instagram as part of the simul casting going live across uh, various different platforms simultaneously. Let me check for the. I'm not seeing the link on the Facebook side, but if you join us on YouTube, you could just type in the Charlotte agent and you'll be able to see the link there. However, I will be checking all the platforms. So any comments or questions that you have, we'll be happy to go through that as well. All right. So ready to get started, big guy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So how to increase purchase power over the next 30 days. And per the conversation you and I had earlier when we were going through this topic, we saw that there were really two categories. One category are decisions or things you can do to have an immediate boost on the financial side. We're going to double down with income because we know when it comes to increasing your purchasing power, yes, you can work on the credit and that will help, correct? But it's really about the income, right?
Correct. That is correct.
So
So
there's oh go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your
So
thought.
there are two categories that you and I were really breaking it down into. One is what can I do now to have an immediate effect? Secondly, is the category that over the next 30 days, I can implement different habits. I can put things into habitual action that over the next 30 days is going to set me up so that my purchasing power is increasing more and more. Yeah, but jump right on in.
Absolutely. So, um, as you were speaking about some of the things that you can do in order to increase your purchasing power, because that's the name of the game. You either are pre-approved for what you want and you see things in the market,
Right.
yourself as as the realtor will send our client houses to look at. If
Mm-hmm.
those houses aren't with if they don't fit what a person wants, then there are either a few things that we can do in order to increase that purchasing power
Mm-hmm.
so that they're able to come to you and say, hey, can I start looking in this range instead of the range that I was looking in? At that point, you'll send them back to me. We'll look at a few different options to see, what we can do to increase that purchasing power. So,
Yeah.
we want to be able to power them up in several different ways and, have different avenues in order to do that. Um,
Mhm.
the first thing that I can think of without including anyone else in your business and the things that you have going
Right.
on
Right.
is paying off debt. So if you have the money to
Most
pay off
definitely.
different debts to decrease your DTI, which in
Mhm.
turn increases your purchasing power, that would be the
Right.
first thing to do. So what I would do is
Yeah.
I would go onto the person's
Now,
uh,
now go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I was just informing those listeners when he says DTI, that's your debt to income ratio, is what he's referring to. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So with the debt to income ratio, the thing that plays into that are any debts that a person is paying that are reported by creditors. So
Right.
personal loans, student loans, car loans,
Mhm.
credit cards, any type of loan that you have, not including your your bills, not your light bill, your phone bill, none of that stuff
Right.
is included.
This is
Just things that are
your revolving debt, right?
right, your
Things on the
revolving
cycle.
debt and yeah, revolving debt and installment debts. So what I would
And
do,
it's
go
not
ahead.
just your loans that you're taking out, but if there's anything in collections, right? You're gonna see that there when you pull their credit, right?
That's correct. We'll see
Yeah.
things that are on the credit. So if there are things that are in collections past a certain amount, so anything over a
Okay.
certain dollar amount, now we have to start taking that into um, effect that that is a payment now because it's
Right.
a certain amount. So we'll look at those things as well.
Now,
Um,
quick question: are you suggesting that they pay off the entire amount of, let's say, the various line items of revolving debt, or are you suggesting that to kind of immediately, start increasing your power, it's just paying them down?
so paying them down doesn't really do a lot in turn, just depending on the situation. So there are
Okay.
lots of different situations that we can see. So if
Right.
they pay them down and they don't go under 10 payments as an installment payment, we still have to look at it as just whatever that payment is. So,
Okay.
say if someone, owes, let's say $15,000 on a car
Okay.
and their payment is $1,000 a month, even if they pay it down, if they don't pay it down to under $10,000 to where, or $10,000 or under to where it's 10 payments or less, we can't exclude that from their debts. So they would have to pay it
Okay.
completely off or
So they
down
can.
under to that
So
10.
okay. So they can pay a debt down to where you can see there's 10 payments or less left on that revolving debt. Then you're saying the underwriting will allow that debt to not count towards their overall debt to income ratio. They can
Y-
dismiss that.
Yes, depending on the loan type that we have. But
Okay.
yes, there are ways
Yeah.
that you can pay that debt down to 10 payments or below, and that will we will be able to exclude that from
Okay.
the DTI or the debt to income ratio.
And that would
So
work with some of their smaller debts, right? Like school loans. If you know, you were just, you went to medical school or something like that, right? Or law school, then I don't know if you're gonna get it down to only your last 10 payments, but uh,
yeah,
maybe
and then
go
with
ahead.
with the student loan payments, a lot of times those payments are, they're low. So
Right.
it's a lot of, that's a lot of paying off to get some of those loans off. Some of the ones
Right.
that I've seen on people's credit reports anyway. So
Right.
um I usually try to focus in on the things that have the highest payment with
Okay.
the lowest amount to pay off.
Okay.
So if someone has, say if somebody has a credit card payment
Okay.
of, $300 a month, but the
Mhm.
credit card balance on it is only, $1,300, we might look to pay that off to free up that $300 a month.
All right.
So
Do you think they should get to, let's say they're going to be very aggressive in getting to that only 10 payments left mark, right? Could
so let
they
me
go ahead?
let
Go
me
ahead.
let me stop you before you go. So the 10 payments or less is only for installment payment.
Installment
installment
payment.
loans. Yep. So
Okay.
installment loans. So
Right.
personal loans,
Right.
student loans, things like that. Credit cards don't count in
Credit cards don't
dismissing
count.
with 10 payments or lower. Yeah. Because that's a revolving debt and
That's a
you
revolving
can
debt.
go right back and you can swipe that card again and now you've
Okay.
increased that. So we don't include that in the same realm of the 10
Okay.
payments or less.
Now let's double down on the credit cards real quick because you and I had uh, touched on this the other day. Many of the clients that I have, when I'm building their strategy to increase their buying power, so many of them want to aggressively reduce the amounts owed on the credit card, and that's great. That's they deserve a pat on the back for that. However, the question for you is, even if I have that credit card and I pay off the $1,500 on it, if the spending limit on that credit card is still $10,000, is it still going to negatively, or I wouldn't say negatively, but is it still suppressing my buying power, my purchasing power, because the limit on that credit card is still quite high?
No, so the limit on the credit card doesn't really affect your debt to income ratio or your purchasing power. It's really
Okay.
only what you're borrowing against. So the limit you can
Okay.
have a $50,000 credit card limit, but if you're only spending $1,000 on it and the payment is $25 a month, then that's
Mhm.
all that we look at is just at $25 a month.
Okay.
So overall,
Which is
you
really
can.
interesting because I've heard it both ways, and I've told clients to consider that aspect of it is actually your spending limit, because I was told in underwriting when they're submitting this and underwriting and it's going out to those investment companies and whatnot, that's one of the things they do look at as not, maybe not necessarily as declining or approving, but in the sense that it raises the risk factor of the loan that they're that cake of a loan. I like to say when you go into underwriting, it's like you're baking a cake.
Mhm.
You collect all the ingredients and then you send it back there to get baked. Is Are they not considering them a higher risk factor or this loan product?
No, so when we look at if we look at someone that's able to get, a high, credit
Mhm.
card, if I'm able to get a high credit card limit, then
Okay.
that means, somebody else thinks they're a good, they're a good borrower as well.
Okay.
So we're not going to count it against them if they have a $50,000 limit. Now,
Okay.
if they have a $50,000 spending limit and they're $50,000, maxed out,
Right.
then now
Okay.
we have some issues because that's going to, create a risk factor. Their credit score is going to
Okay.
drop if they're over, 30% utilization. Once you're over that 30% utilization, your credit
Okay.
score starts to drop. That payment becomes higher on that
Okay.
revolving credit, so that
Okay.
immediately affects your purchasing power.
So in terms of the potential debt, and then we'll move on from credit cards, but the potential debt that they can incur, what's the rule of thumb in order to increase their purchasing power? They should, if they have five credit cards, right, and each one has a, I don't know, $10,000 limit. So you have $50,000 worth of potential debt that you could go into. You're saying that they should stay at 30% or lower in terms of their spending limits on those cards.
Yeah, I mean, the for credit, just credit wise overall, yes, 30%
Okay.
utilization or lower is typically what, the credit score, the credit model looks for.
Okay.
Through Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They
Okay.
want you to be under, 30% utilization
30%.
of your credit. Now, that factor can it can hurt. I mean, it can affect, where you are with your purchasing power, just depending
Okay.
on how much money you make. So,
Okay.
you
Right.
know, all of
Right.
that. all of that is balled up in the same, the same dough to make the cake, the same, flour
Gotcha.
and all that stuff to make the cake. So it really just, it's a full spectrum of things that we look at in order
True.
to, find, you know, the solution
Right.
ultimately.
And so and that's why I'm glad we're doing this podcast is because oftentimes potential buyers are making good faith efforts and doing good things, but it's not contributing to increasing their purchasing power. It's contributing to a better credit score. However, the most direct, I mean, if you want to cut across the field here and go directly to increasing your purchase power, you have to deal with your debt and then you have to deal with your income, which is where we're going to go next, right? Um,
Correct.
Anything else on, so we know decreasing your debt, on time payments, you definitely want to start making on time payments, but that's more so for a credit score that influences that, right? Not so much your buying power.
Correct. Correct. I
Okay.
always want to make on time payments. That's one thing that will affect your ability to purchase. So not so much your
Mhm.
purchasing power, but if you have a bunch of late payments,
Right.
now the underwriting is looking at that as a red flag.
Right.
If you can't make a payment for a credit card, or if you can't make a payment for, a $5,000 personal loan, how are
Right.
you going to pay, a $300,000 house or a $400,000 house?
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay. So before we get into increasing purchasing power, where we may include someone else, which you and I talked about that. Let's stay where we are with things you can do in without letting people in your business, as you said earlier. Um, let's talk about increasing the income. Some people may think that, hey, getting a second job or a great way to show more income, Uber, DoorDash, things like that. Inform our listeners and our viewers as to just let's break it first with Uber, DoorDash, those types of opportunities. Is that going to increase your purchasing power if I start making money doing those deliveries?
So as we're speaking right now, we're talking about trying to get stuff done within 30 days. In
Hmm.
the immediate, no, it's not going to help you with
Okay.
gaining more purchasing power.
Right.
You can Uber, you can DoorDash, you can get that money to use that money to um, put down for a down payment, or whatever you need to
Right.
do with purchasing the home, down payment inspections, appraisals, things like that. You can use that
Right.
money for that. But in order to have a second job, you have to
Hmm.
have you have to have two jobs consecutively for 2 years.
For two
Now,
years.
when I say two jobs consecutively, it doesn't have to be the same job. We
Right.
just have to see that you've carried two jobs for 2 years with no gap.
Okay, gotcha. So it, now part of increasing for our listeners and viewers, part of increasing your purchasing power is having access to funds that can cover your down payment, that can cover closing costs. I think the greatest benefit from what he's saying in terms of the Lyft, Uber Eats, DoorDash, those side hustles, shall we say, is that is bringing in money that's going to allow you to more aggressively pay down debt. Um, we lost you for 1 second, Stuart. Hold on. All right, so we'll wait for his image to come back up. So, though you may not be able to count the side hustles and side jobs towards your income because you haven't been doing it for 2 years or can show a history that you've been doing it for 2 years, what you can do is still do those things, but it's going to give you more money to now you can aggressively pay down the debt and you can aggressively save up money. So, we good to go?
Yes, sir. Am I
Okay.
back on? All right.
Yeah,
There we
you back on.
All
Yeah, I was
right.
just telling them that the side hustles and side jobs are great. They're going to increase your purchasing power because they'll allow you to more aggressively pay down debt and more aggressively save towards down payment costs, closing costs, you won't be able to count it as income. But hey, so I may not be counting this extra, $500,000, whatever a month towards the income, but that extra $500, $1,000 is going towards paying down the credit card, paying down the car note, et cetera, decreasing the debt. So my debt to income ratios are still benefiting.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's, that's a way to kind of move the pieces on the chessboard in
Right.
order to make it happen. So even though you're not able to use that as income on your debt to income, you can use that to pay things down to
Right.
decrease your debt to income. So it
Right.
all works it all works in a circle. You just have to, you have to
Right.
find the right way, the right moves on the chessboard in order to make it happen. And that's why
Right.
we're there. We are the guide in order to, tell you like, hey,
Most definitely.
you should pay this down versus paying this down. And
Right.
and you were talking earlier about people going out, on a limb by themselves to try to start paying things down. It's
Mhm.
always important to consult us because we can let you know like, hey, paying this down is going to help. Paying this down is not going to help. Um,
Exactly.
I've had
It's-
people go out and try to pay stuff down, but it didn't help them out because they didn't consult me on it. They just did it on their own. So it's important, to have those conversations. If you're thinking about paying something down, make sure you consult with your lender. Make sure you consult with
Right.
your realtor. That way we can kind of come together and make sure that what you're doing is going to help and you're
Yeah, it's
not
the
just
most
putting money
effective.
out.
We trying to get you to cut across the field as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. And this is why this conversation is so important, because so many uh, potential buyers are driven by their credit score, and that's great. You want to get it to 700 and plus. I commend you on that. But is that going to, having a higher credit score, does that necessarily mean that you're going to now be able to afford more home? And it does not. So many people have done great things. I pat them on the back for increasing their credit score, but they found that their purchasing power only budged a little bit. It wasn't enough to get them to the next level for the type of home or the location that they want to be in. Okay, very good. So we talked about getting the debt down, increasing the income. Of course, you can do that with side jobs. If you can get a promotion, we discussed that when you and I were talking the other day. A promotion would be greatly helpful because now you can start using the new pay scale that they're on. Let me ask you this. What if the income on the job increases, but it's through a bonus?
So for bonus pay, it's kind of the same as a second job with the bonus.
Okay.
You have to be able to show at least 2 years of it. So if you show 2 years of a bonus, if you got a bonus in 2024 in the beginning of the year and it was $10,000 or $12,000, let's just
Okay.
say $12,000 since it's 12 months, and then 2025 beginning of the year you got
Okay.
another $12,000 bonus that we spread out throughout the year, that gives you an extra $1,000 a month of
Okay.
income. So
So
we can
whatever
use that.
bonus they receive. Now, the bonus, is that the gross amount of the bonus or the net?
Yep,
Because you're tax at that.
everything is gross. So
Everything is gross. Okay.
the income that we look at is gross all
Very
across the
good.
board.
Very good. Okay. So it would probably be more beneficial in most cases, not all, that the bonus that they get, if it's not a 2-year history, to take those additional funds and put it towards your savings, towards a down payment, towards closing costs, towards aggressively paying down other debt. That's what it
Absolutely.
sounds like. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So where do you want to go next? So
So
what else we got that we talked about without including other people as
So
of yet?
those were the two. So we really have three major points when it comes to increasing that purchasing power. So
Okay.
the two that we talked about, paying
Getting
off
the
debt
debt
on your
down.
own, and then
Yeah.
trying to get
Your income up.
possibly income up with a new role, you know, raise,
Mhm.
bonus, things like that.
Right.
The next thing is something that is outside of you that could help you if you have
Okay.
a resource for it.
Okay.
So
Let's
third
jump
thing
into it.
that we want to talk about is really seeing if you can get a co-signer or a co-borrower on your loan. So
Right.
you can get a non-occupying co-borrower added to your loan, and as long as their credit is in a good place and they
Mhm.
have some debt to income space within their own debt to income, because they may own a house, they may.
Correct.
So as long as they're not eating up all their debt to income and they have some space to add to yours, then that can help increase your purchasing power.
Now, double down on what you mean by have some space to contribute to yours, because you're not saying that the co-borrower has to be in a position where they could afford this purchase themselves if they wanted to, because you're right, they may already have a mortgage, car note, things like that. So
Correct.
double down on what you mean. How can they create space or for the buyer?
Absolutely. So we'll just go situational here. Me and you are buying a house,
Right.
or I'm buying a house.
You're buying a house.
I don't make enough money to buy the house that I want.
Right.
So I need some help with increasing the debt to income. I can't
Okay.
get another job. Nobody wants to hire me.
And let's say I'm your cousin. So, and I'm your cousin. Right.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
can't get another job because nobody wants to hire me.
Okay.
Um, I don't have the money to pay off debt. I'm trying to see if I can get
Mhm.
some down payment assistance. So
Right. Right.
there's no other way for me to turn but to turn to my rich cousin Jason.
Okay.
Um, and now I come to you and say, hey, well, do you mind co-signing for me to purchase this house?
Right.
So when I say increase, have some space. So, you have to look at your overall debt to income, what you have right now. So
Okay.
say you make a lot of money and you have a lot of room for debt to income. Your bills only take up about 20% of your debt to income.
Okay.
Now, whatever you have left, whatever income you have, it'll pretty much be added to my income on the application.
Okay.
So your income plus my income divided by our debts. So
Okay.
now that helps increase my purchasing power because I'm using your income in order to increase that. So
So
now,
so I'm not maxed out on my debt to income ratios. And what's the front end and back end? Just as a FYI,
so
people know.
really,
Let's do a FHA.
yeah, so we'll go through. So FHA, the front end, the max that I've seen is like 46.99. Back
Okay.
end for that is 56.99. Once it
Okay.
hits that 57, goes over that, then we're out on getting that approval.
Okay.
Um, Conventional is 50%
Okay.
total overall, and
Total.
then VA has its own special thing with residual income, to where the debt to income ratio is not really the biggest part of it. And
Okay.
then loans like USDA,
Right.
USDA have a 31-43 back end. So 31 front end, 43% back end.
So those are more aggressive on the USDA.
Yeah, they're tighter, and some of the down payment assistance loans are tighter as well. Like North Carolina Housing, they have a
Mhm.
45% debt to income ratio, so you
Okay.
can't go over 45%. If we're looking at House Charlotte has a front end back end, front end of 33, back end of 45. So it's tighter because
Yeah,
if
it
you're
is
trying to
tighter.
do that, the front end has to get a little tighter. So um, as long as you have room, as long as your debt to income is not um, way overboard to where it's
Okay.
not gonna help me at all, then you can help me purchase a house just because you have good credit and you have good income and you're not using up all of your debt to income ratio.
So let's use the conventional loan since that 50% just across the board. That's a clean number. Um, so if as your rich cousin, debt to income is, I don't know, 40%, So it's not at the max of 50,
hmm
40. So I have 10% worth of room. Are you saying that whatever debt amount would push me towards the 50%, the difference quantitatively, that actual number is now what's contributed in terms of how much debt you cannot take on, or what you're saying is income wise?
So it's really overall. So they combine both of ours. So
Okay.
now, so say if my debt to income ratio, I'm pushing, say I'm pushing the max, and I'm overboard on what I want to purchase.
Okay.
You come in and now we add your income to my income. So instead of, let's say I make $5,000 a month and you make $10,000 a month. Now
Okay.
together we make $15,000 a month. So your debts plus my debts now tells me what my new debt to income ratio is, because we're
Okay.
using it overall and not just mine and not just yours.
So it should be beneficial in the end, because even though I may be coming with more debt, right? Because I'm the rich cousin with the Lamborghini and the house on the lake, and and the boat, that I'm paying off of. But because my income is so substantially higher, and we know this because the debt to income ratio on my end of things is below that 50% threshold for a conventional loan, it's still going to be a benefit to you. Now, that's with a cosigner. What about, and this is the second way that people can include others as participants in increasing their buying power, is through a gift. So when it comes to a gift, and this ties into the cosigner as well, talk to them about the importance of the income sourcing and history of your cosigner or the person giving you the gift. How tight
So
does that have to be?
yeah, so with the gift, the income for the person doesn't matter when it comes to a gift. So we throw that out. That you might
Right.
have a rich grandfather who doesn't make any money but has a couple of million in the bank.
Okay.
So with the gift, a person can gift you. Um, they can gift you your full down payment. They can gift you your closing costs.
Hmm.
They can gift you enough to make more of a down payment to be able to afford more. Um,
Right.
as long as that money is able to be sourced, which when I say sourced, it has to come from an account. It can't be mattress money. It can't be shoebox money,
Right.
uh, anything like that. It can't be cash. It has to be sourced from a bank, some type of financial institute, whether it's a bank or um, mutual fund, or whatever you have, 401k, wherever that's coming from. It has to be able to be sourced, and we as the lender need to be able to play trace the money, find the money. Where did the money come from? So therefore, we need to be able to see the account statement from your rich grandfather who's giving you, $50,000, to put down to, for closing costs and all that. Now, one thing that you cannot use gift money for is your reserves. So
Gotcha.
say if I need 3 months reserves and the payment is $5,000. So I need $15,000 in reserves. I have to have that $15,000 in my account. It can't be my grandfather's amount. So say if I do have, $15,000, but I don't have enough for a down payment, I'll use my 15,000 as the reserves, and my grandfather gives me the money for the down payment and closing costs. It's just, moving the chess pieces in order to make it work.
Right. And that's why I tell potential buyers, potential clients, you can never start too early when it comes to building your strategy towards your home purchase. You can
Absolutely.
never start too early. I said the first thing you want to do, and I know the immediate impulse for many people is, Jason, not them saying I'm a bad person or put anything negative on me, but when I suggest that immediately talk to a lender, it's not because I am trying to place you to purchase right here and now. That's not it. I encourage everyone to start a year out, start with getting with the lender. That way you can know and have the information on what they're seeing on their end. Then from there, we'll build a strategy. If you're in a position to where you can afford what you want, that's great. You may not want to buy until 4 or 5 months down the line. That is excellent. But here's the key. You still want to start with the lender and you still want to have them to, do your application, have them to run everything for you, because now you'll know what you don't need to be doing over the next couple months. You want to tighten up on some things. For example, if you pay a bill and you're reminding yourself to pay the bill every month, that's great. So you have on-time payments. We may suggest go ahead and put that on automatic draft. That way, when you're ready to purchase some months down the line, you didn't have that oopsie moment a month or two ago, and you have a late payment, and that adjusts some things in a domino effect way. Is that correct? Would you agree with that, Stewart?
Absolutely correct. I'm a big advocate of auto pay if you can. Everybody, isn't set up to where they can do auto pay. They have to, make things stretch, and it's understandable. But
That's
if
understandable.
you can auto pay, hey, put it on auto pay, let it happen, because if you have that oops moment, that can be the difference in 30, 40 points off your credit. And that'll be the
Right.
difference in, this interest rate versus that interest rate.
And
That'll
that's the
be,
thing. And I'm so glad you said that, Stewart. Here's a key point, people. Debt to income affects how much home you can buy. Credit score affects the type of interest rate you'll get. Is that a good way to polar? If we had to polarize it and create two lanes here, how is that? You agree with that, Stewart?
yeah, that's a big factor in it.
Mhm.
That's one of the
We
major,
know there's crossover, right?
yeah,
We know there's
yeah,
crossover, of course,
yeah,
but just as
those are the main players. Yeah,
right,
those
and
are the
and,
main
and
players.
those what they do. Your credit score is going to have the greatest impact in terms of your interest rate. Your debt to income ratio is going to have the greatest impact on how much home you can actually afford.
Absolutely.
And this is why people will have a great credit score but can't afford what they may desire. And then you have others that have great debt to income ratio, but they've been late. Their credit score is so much lower, And I've had situations like that. One industry that would shock a lot of people to find out that many people in this industry, per the data, that have which you would their credit scores are not as high as you would think. That industry is doctors.
Oh yeah, doctors. I've run into a lot of doctors to where they have so much debt when it comes to student loans because
Right,
they've been in school so long that their
right.
credit isn't as high as you would think. That a doctor would
Yeah.
be.
Doctors, lawyers, and especially the ones that once they get into the field and they really get some years under their belt, they're making good money.
Yeah,
So they don't need credit to buy the new car. They could just buy it cash. They don't need credit for the nice, let's say, rental condo in uptown Charlotte, because they could just give you a whole year's worth of rent up front. Oh, rent is $3,000 for this nice condo. Okay, 36 grand. Here you go. Boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
That's a month and a half. I'm good. You know. Okay, so I think this has been great. I wanted us just to come on here, really short amount of time, but just to give them some great information. Just so to recap, when it comes to increasing your purchasing power in 30 days, there's some immediate things you can do. And then there's some other things you can do that are more of a long play, but you can start the habits. What can you immediately do? First of all, tackle that debt. Great way to tackle the debt is getting additional employment, the side hustles. That's income that you can't actually, it won't contribute to your income in terms of the loan, but it's going to give you cash flow so that you can really knock down the debt in record time. Uh, we talked about uh, my mind just went blank. So getting down the debt, but also increasing the income. So getting promotion on the job, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
That's things that you can do within your own power. If you want to include some co-players in this, co-signer, or someone giving you a gift. This is why it's good to love thy neighbor and love your family because you may need them one day.
Yes, sir.
Right. This is why it's also good that if you're making the steps to position yourself to increase your purchasing power, bring a friend or family member along with you where you can keep each other accountable because there are some individuals, I'll just say some clients I've had in the past, they were so close to getting the loan for the house they wanted. And a co-signer or a gift would have been just enough to
Push
get
it
them
over
over that
the
hump. But they turned to their family
edge.
and don't put a color on this for all my listeners and viewers. This runs across every ethnicity, every spectrum, okay? Because I've had every ethnicity. But they turn to their family and the family can't help them because the family hasn't positioned themselves,
Right.
right? And I don't know if you've seen that
Oh yeah,
throughout
definitely.
your tenure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's and like you said, it's all spectrums. I've had clients of, you know, a lot of different ethnicities, and there have been some from, each one that can help, and there have been
Mm-hmm.
some from each one that has no help at all. So
Mm-hmm.
um, definitely want to, position yourself. If you are not in position, just, you don't want to just treat people good or, treat people nice in order to get them to do something
I
for
know,
you,
right?
but just naturally being a good person, a
Yeah.
person may want to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had those struggles in my family. I've tried to put things in place and set up a system and a structure so that we can begin to bring resources to the table, information to the table, and those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And it is sad. It's not just the family; it's the blood family. Meaning, done it with fraternity, done it with acquaintances, friends, even with the information that we're putting out. But you know what? I know there's people that are going to hear this and they're going to say, "Wow, that was a lot of help." And I'll end it on this because I'm probably going to do. It's one of the topics I have like so many topics of podcasts that I want to do. Everyone may not be built to be an entrepreneur, but I believe everyone can have their own business. And here's why I say that: it's because what we're talking about, the mindset that you have to get into, the preparation, the details and the numbers, you're really approaching your purchase like a business. And so many people don't leverage the equity in their home and all these great opportunities because they're not treating or viewing their purchase like a business. So I say everyone may not be an entrepreneur, but everyone can have a business. Why? Because when you purchase a home, think of it like you're purchasing a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Any last words? Let the people know how they can reach you, Stewart.
You can reach me, Facebook, Stewart Good. You can reach me Instagram, StewG25 Mortgages. Same thing on TikTok. So those are the three platforms. that I use for the most part. I do have a YouTube channel. Don't use it as much. Definitely need to start bringing that up as well.
Awesome. And excuse me, throughout the course of our live today, I had at least your name and Alcova Mortgage there at the bottom as well. So
absolutely. And you can reach me anytime, 803-493-7643. You can run that back again, 803-493-7643. Give me a call anytime. I'm available nights and weekends.
okay, sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have you back on. We'll discuss some more topics. And thanks everyone for those who tuned in on Facebook or YouTube. I didn't see any questions in the queue. I did see some likes and some people joining in, but I know this would be a great value to everyone. So we have some more episodes. We're going to have Sid Chase back on. We're going to start a whole series called Portfolio on how you can start building your portfolio so that you can become a millionaire, because just about every millionaire that I've spoken with has a portfolio of some type. So stay tuned for that. And once again, thank you so much, Stewart. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
All right. So we're signing off, and you all have a blessed evening. And I will see you later.